Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vaugh Show. Today I have a really good, exciting episode that I want to share with you all today. A topic as well, how to get approved for a visa for the US. This has been a email dropper for us. We have got over like 200 emails in regards to doing research on how to get approved for a visa for the US. So this is going to be a lengthy video. I just want to let you guys know right up front. I promise I'm going to do my best to isolate a lot of the information that I can. I do have a lot of notes, sorry, but I wanted to make sure I give you as much information I can in a compiled video. These are just tips on how to get approved for the US visa. So let's get started. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and click the bell. Please click the bell. I've done a lot of work on this. So we decided to do a lot of research. Well, I decided to do a lot of research. I reached out to some friends who worked in immigrations just to give me some background insight on how to get approved. So the first thing that you want to keep in mind in regards to applying for a visa to the US or even for your interview process is that the most important thing is that you want to be able to prove that you have ties to your home country, right? The immigration officer is basically, the consular officer is looking at you as like, okay, when this person sits in front of me, I automatically am assuming that they are not planning to come back home. That is their first mindset in their head. Like, you're not planning to come back home, right? So you have to prove to them that you have the intent to go back home once you visit the US. So that intent can be proved through having ties to your home country. So you might ask, what are ties? Ties are basically things that bind you to your home, right? So for example, a tie could be having land in your home, or having a current resident, in your home country, or family, or like financial responsibility or investments that requires you to be tied to your home country. Or even if you had some form of inheritance that ties you back to your home country. So the consulate is basically trying to prove that, hey, these ties that you have, they are going to bring you back home, right? So that is one important thing that you have to keep in mind in regards to applying for a US visa. The consulate wants to make sure that you have ties to go home. Number two is English, right? US is basically considered like most of the US is founded on basic English, right? And you have to know English. There's no possible way a consulate is going to approve you if your English is not, I would say, moderate, that you understand, that you can write it, and that you can have an interview conversation with the consular in regards to it. So like, you can't bring someone, to your interview process. Like you can't bring a translator. You have to be able to do it. So one thing that you can do in regards to working on your English is like, have conversation with people from America who speaks English. Like, see if someone will be willing to just help you with wording or words. Like, for example, one thing I've noticed that I've seen some people write is that mum, M-U-M. Like, mum, M-U-M is America, is a flower, right? But M-O-M is mom, right? That's how we translate it here in the US. So it's small things like that you need to know, that you should be able to tweak and have a conversation with the consulate in English to make sure that they understand, like, okay, if I allow this person to come into the US, that they'll be able to read the signs, that they'll know that, that they can communicate what they need to communicate in the US. So that is vital. So English is important. Number three, speaking for yourself. So when you're in your interview process, and this is one thing that the the consular officer were telling me, is that a lot of time people bring their family members to help them in their interview process. You can't do that. That's an absolute no-no. No. You have to go in by yourself. Like, your family can come and sit in the waiting room, but at the same time, they can't come with you into your interview process and to help you. That just shows a negative impression to the consular officer. Now, if it's a kid, if you have a minor and the parent has to come, totally different story. Because there has been cases where minors need visas to the US and the parent has to come. That's a totally different story. However, if you are an individual, you have to do it alone. You definitely have to do it alone. The next thing, You need to know your program. Number 4, you need to know the program that you are, or the visa that you are applying for, whether it's a tourist visa or a student visa. You need to know what visa that you are applying for, and you need to have the information to provide them, to letting them know, okay, so concisely, like, well, okay, this is why I'm coming to the U.S. to do X, Y, and Z on such and such date, blah, 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 blah. You need to have in detail so they can see, like, okay, this is what this person is doing in regards to a visa, in regards to tourism, or this is why this person coming on a visa for business, or this is why this person is coming for a visa as a student. You need to have that information readily available to the T in regards to, you know, why you're coming to the U.S. and how long you're going to be there and what you're planning to be doing. So the next one is be concise. The consular officers, they have so many volumes of applications that come through, and they are under a lot of pressure to conduct effective and efficient interviews. So a lot of times they're making their impression within the first 2 minutes of them sitting down having a conversation with you. In the first 2 minutes, they're already going to decide whether or not they're going to let you get approved or not. So that's very important. So first impressions are key. You have to create your point in a very quick period of time, convey it to them, and they have to understand the purpose and why you're going to the U.S. In a short period of time. So remember, when you sit down, you need to have your information concise and to the point. Now, supplemental documentation, I would say, would be number 6, right? In regards to supplemental documentation, again, you have 2 to 3 minutes in the interview process. So the consular should be able to look at your supplemental documentation and be like, hey, I get the overall view of what I need to know in this documentation, because it is organized very neatly and it's in a very short format. So now the documentation basically explains, it kind of gives them an overview of what you're doing. Like I said, as number 5, being concise. So the documentation, they should be able to look at it, get to the point, and say, hey, they provide me everything I need to know. Okay, I'm going to approve this visa or not, right? Now, another important thing that the consulars, basically, consular told me, is that you have to understand that not all countries are equal. Okay? Not all countries are equal. So what I mean by that is, for example, if there is a country that's suffering from some form of economical problems, or maybe potentially you have students who went to the U.S. for school and they end up migrating to the U.S. and they did not come home, it makes those countries difficult for you to get a visa, right? So statistically, it makes it harder. So that's why maybe this particular country, I don't know, one country may be easier to get into. You'll say, like, well, why is it easier for, like, people of one country to get into and then compared to the other country to be able to get into it? That is one reason why. So they look at the stats to see, well, are people coming back? Or, you know, is it more student visa or the student staying? So you have to factor that as well, right? So you have to keep that in your mind. That is a reason why potentially you may not even get approved when all your stuff and your paperwork is correct. So keep that in mind. Another thing too I want to say, that I want to kind of conclude too, is maintaining a positive attitude, right? Don't go arguing with the consular, because if you do that, you're gonna automatically get chopped. Like, I've heard conversations with different consulars saying, like, people just have an argument. Why are you arguing with me when I hold the keys to the cars for you to go where you gotta go? Don't argue with them. What you can do is, if you're denied, let's say, like a student visa, or if you're denied a visa just in general, you can ask the officer to give you a list of documents that he or she can suggest that you can bring back in order for you to be approved the next time if you are refused, and if you are denied, to see if you can get something in writing of why you were denied, so that you can prepare for the next time you come back, right? So these are just some key points that I wanted to provide to you. Again, I'm potentially thinking about doing a part 2 to this, but I just want to see, like, what your thoughts and your ideas and your comments are in regards to this little bit of information I provided you all. But again, if you have other questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to email me. I know a lot of people are planning to visit the U.S., or they want to visit the U.S., something they always wanted to do. But I've definitely helped a couple people visit the U.S., and I do have a lot of insight. No, I'm not an expert in immigration or a lawyer of any kind, but I will say if there's something that you need help with, I'm more than welcome to help. Just email me, leave something in the comments, and I will respond to you within 24 to 48 hours, and then we can make this a collaborative effort. Or even if people who have already who visit the US and came, you can also share your experience with us in the comments below. I would love to know more about it. And again, I am a travel vlogger, so this was just one highly requested one that people asked me to look into, and I decided to. Let's chat about it. Let's see how far we can take this conversation and go forward. So again, all the information that I share with you and more will be in the notes below. And I also put some resources for you guys to utilize to get more information and tips in regards to get your visa approved to the US. And that's it. So guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click the bell, and I will see you guys on my next video. Peace.